Welcome to What the Flick, everybody. Ben, Alonzo, and Christy. Movie called Catfight, which I didn't see, and I was about to say it's an actual catfight, but it's not. It's just that catfight now means not a catfight. Like at first I was going to say, right? That would be a great movie. There are two cats, and they fight. Yeah.
These are women who beat the shit out of each other repeatedly. Okay, so Heche and Sandra Oh are two very different women who went to college together, and then they reconnect randomly at a party where Sandra Oh is a guest and Heche is helping out with catering. Her girlfriend is played by Alicia Silverstone, and all these pent-up resentments that they probably had both forgotten they had come to the surface, and they beat the living shit out of each other. And then it gets worse from there, actually. Take a look.
Jesus, you look like someone I went to college with.
Hi, Veronica.
Oh my God, this is my husband's party.
Wow, I thought those guys were gay. They were acting so gay.
Yeah, my husband's not gay.
No, I know.
We have a beautiful son.
Watch it.
Oh, you're pathetic. You're a caterer, Ashley.
You're a trophy wife, Veronica.
This movie,
Nutty.
It's crazy. I mean, I'm torn on it because the stuff between the two of them, both the fights themselves, which are impressive, whatever stunt teams or not stunt teams were involved. I mean, there's some like amazing combat going on there, and their relationship as it carries over through the film and their rivalry, I love. But there's so much other stuff that's kind of crammed in there that doesn't work at all, I don't think. Like the stuff about the war and Craig Bierko as the late night talk show host. And it's like, there are ideas here that don't really land. And this is one of those movies where you almost think, there's at least a great short in here, and if you could have a 50-minute movie, this would be a great 50-minute movie that just with the stuff that works. But you have to take out the stuff that doesn't.
Yeah, it does get very redundant. I mean, and yet, even as scattered as it seems, there's a very tight structure to it.
Oh, very much so.
In that there's a repetition of certain moments and certain lines, and there's a karmic kind of dynamic that comes back onto both of them, where one's on top and then the other's on top, and they realize by the end that they need each other. I did not enjoy the actual fights themselves. And
really?
I wasn't offended by them, but they just went on so long. I mean, they're so brutal. I can see using them as a device to move the narrative along, and as just a sort of primal expression of anger, resentment, self-doubt, whatever you want to call it. But they go on like about 5 minutes too long each. There's like 3 of them.
Yeah,
and they're brutal to watch.
I sort of thought that was a kind of an intentional exaggeration.
Yes.
I mean,
but it doesn't work.
Fair enough. For me, I didn't have a problem with it. But I mean, I think there's you can totally go into this movie looking at it as a metaphorical thing, that women are so often set against each other when they should be, uniting to topple the patriarchy or whatever, and it's about how the energy that gets wasted on these sort of rivalries as opposed to just sort of dealing with your own shit, And so I kind of felt like the movie was going out of its way to make those silly, long and ridiculous and overdone, but obviously your mileage may vary if that plays for you.
I didn't see it obviously, and so there's no point for me even speaking. But I'm going
Please.
to. But I'm curious, like you can't have them like the title is what makes the movie, right? So you're like you're going to call it Catfight, and then you think, well, we better deliver.
We better get our money's worth with our stunt doubles, but the stuff in between, like the moments where the two of them are actually interacting with each other, are really illuminating, and those two actresses are so great together, and their dynamic keeps changing, but it's always believable. There's a really, really great scene toward the end in the cabin in Maine.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's lovely, and it sort of brings everything into focus, and I wish that they had Onur Tukel?
That's the director.
I'm saying your name wrong. I'm so sorry.
Director.
He wrote and directed it. I wish he'd focus more on the truth that reveals itself in those moments. And as an exploration of how, you can reinvent yourself as many times as you like, but you can't escape who you truly are.
Sure.
And that's what this is about. And they both have to go back to realizing who they were, despite whatever kind of changes they think they've made superficially.
Right.
And that's interesting.
And again, and you could even look at the fights as being kind of a bit of a gimmick, because Heche and Oh are so good, and they're so good at a very specific kind of deadpan, slow burn, side-eye acting, you know. So the two of them facing off, there's like a real like, you know, they don't have to punch each other in the jaw to like really be devastating to each other, but you know they do then punch each other in the jaw, you know, which is kind of fascinating to watch. I mean, and I always worry that people are going to come away from this kind of movie with the wrong messaging. You know, like as much as I'm looking forward to seeing Feud, and that was a thing that happened. It is a historically provable thing that those two hated each other and they had a really terrible working experience together. There is an element of society that enjoys watching women take each other down that I find kind of annoying. Like whenever two big actresses are in a movie together, everybody's immediately on the lookout for, was there tension? Did they get along? Was there fighting? With diva moments? You know, and it's like, and that's counterintuitive.
But think about, like, you know, like
But we never asked that question of male stars.
No,
but think about like on Dynasty, right? Like Alexis and
Sure.
Crystal beating the crap out
That's
of each other.
good TV.
That is a famous moment. Like Little House on the Prairie, you know, Laura and Nellie beating each other up in the river. Like that's a famous moment. So I think people sort of revel in that kind of thing.
No, believe me, that kind of thing can be super entertaining. I mean, you know, the Faster Pussycat Kill, you know, I think there have been some really good movies where, you know, I mean, Jesus Christ, Mad Max Fury Road, one of the best things about it was that you had, you know, Charlize Theron and Tom Hardy like walloping each other without quarter, you know, and so, you know, I think, you know, women getting to be violent and active and that kind of thing in a movie is exciting to watch. And if it's two women and they're evenly matched and there's no sort of like, you know, it's not like it's like a, you know, lingerie pillow fight to turn on straight guys. Like it is a fight, you know. That's exciting to watch. But you know, I think there's the temptation of people, you know, turning that spectacle into a way to distract women from their sort of, you know, joint goals as opposed to taking each other down.
Right, how much do the catfights themselves like perpetuate notions of female bitchiness and rivalry and whatever? Anyway,
I enjoy the gay guy's interpretation of what turns on straight guys.
Thank you.
Lingerie pillow fight. Yeah.
Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
You're wrong for me, but I presume it's.
Well,
Again,
your
your
number-
mileage may vary.
Your number is higher than mine.
I gave it a 7. I think you know, there are big chunks of it that don't work, but I think the central idea is an interesting one, and I love the two lead performances.
I'm saying 5. I'm even more mixed on it than you are. So our number is 6. It's a 75% on the Tomatometer. Of the 3 indies out this week about old friends reconnecting awkwardly, I would say go see Love Song. Or Donald Cried.
Or Donald Cried, yeah. I mean, I like all 3, but Donald Cried was top of my list.
Both excellent.
Okay. Have a good day. Bye.